The 18th of Nullick, December 2023. You're very welcome back. I'll speak a little louder. JP McManus, the GAA, he gave them 32 million euros. Now, the thing about the GAA, for those who don't live in Ireland or mightn't be familiar with it, it's Common Lúthchleath Gael, or the Gaelic Athletic Association, and it has long and very deep roots in Irish society. It's the premier sporting organisation, and it's well run, well managed, and the president is only allowed to hold the office for 3 years. There's no repetition. 3 years, and that's it. Now, of course, Ireland being Ireland, it's a rough and ready place, let me tell you. I remember playing football, unofficial football, in a meadow years and years ago, and it was a bit rough, and the refereeing wasn't good, and one chap with a big runny nose couldn't get up, and he says, "Let me up or I'll use the boot." His plan was to get up a bit and then kick everyone around him, and we had to kick him back and all this kind of thing. But in any event, it puts on showcase sport, and in recent years the ladies have got in on the act big time, and it's bigger with them, if anything, and they live for this great crack, really. And it's a wee bit uneven in Ireland in that some of the counties have very low populations, like Leitrim and Sligo, and it's hard for them ever to get up to this top league. That's a bit of a fault, but you can't do much about that because it's been traditional to divide up the county teams on the county basis, and I don't really have an answer to that. Anyway, years ago, a man called Chuck Feeney, who was a well-to-do American-Irish billionaire, started a fund. He started a fund to combat corruption in Ireland. Of course, we are a very corrupt country, needless to say. People post underneath and say we're not. I live in it all my life. You wouldn't get a more corrupt country that still manages to stay a certain level above just the bottom line, as to say. But in any event, he brought out this fund, and it was to fight corruption. And who did he go to put in charge of it? Only a fella, I think his name was Connolly, who was involved in training FARC guerrillas in South America, and had connections with the then Republican movement, the violent Republican movement, the dissidents, I think, and certainly with the Provisional IRA. And they were waging war on the island of Ireland, and the Garrett Fitzgerald government were trying to stop it. And Garrett got on to Feeney, and he says, "You can't let this happen. This will undermine the whole country if this fella gets doing this." And it was a great pity it was he who he selected. Needless to say, they wouldn't pick a lad like me, because I'd go through them like a physical assault, and I'd do it straight. Anyway, he's dead and gone. He was buried last week, Chuck Feeney. I don't see any good he done. If he did, if somebody knows some good he did, let me know. As far as I'm concerned, he was as useful as the teats on my bull. That's as good as he was, and I'll say that about him, live or dead. Now, the thing is, JP McManus is a self-made man. Nobody can deny that. I have no really axe to grind with him. And he obviously likes the GAA, and he's given 32 million euros to the GAA, 1 million for every county in Ireland. 1 million for every county in Ireland. And it's a lot of money. And coming to voluntary clubs that go around the pubs at night collecting €2 here and with a bit of a lotto. And an awful lot of voluntary work goes into trying to keep the GAA clubs afloat. And we all give a bit. I'm not a great attender of games, but I do attend an odd one, and I do take a bit of an interest. And it is a good outlet for people, there's no doubt about that. But the thing is, there's now a problem, going to be a problem, and I'm going to predict this, and I'm not going to be very popular for this. The structure basically in Ireland is you have the local club. So you could have the Kuyper Cross Club, you could have the Shercock Club, you could have the RD Club, you could have the Drumcondra Club, you could have the Multi-Farnham Club, you could have all that, and they usually have their own little good playing pitch, and where they can train, and they make good use of that sort of stuff. And those pitches sort of double up for athletics. People can run around this outside of them and all of that, and then they can put up a little bit for youngsters, and usually they have a little side one for small fry to practice and get going on. A lot of people give nearly every bit of their spare time to this, and €1 million is a great boost. But in there lies a problem. Most of the clubs in Ireland are run on a constitution with a set of rules, with people elected. What's going to happen now is a certain amount, and I emphasize only a certain amount. I reckon 1 in 12 clubs of the local club in the local town, 1 in about 12, I'm not exactly sure of that, will see €1 million coming in, and there's going to be a drive to bust the rules wide open. They're going to try and sack the local chairman, the local secretary, the local treasurer, and the rules are, when there's a meeting of the GAA, only paid up members who have their fee paid on a particular date and are fully accepted as members of the club are entitled to vote. And so what happens, a lot of them, that mean they wouldn't pay anything, and they stroll into the meeting, or they may not, and they leave it up to the few people to carry the heavy work and do the heavy lifting, and they might buy an odd lotto ticket here and there, and there's generally not that much trouble until money comes in. And this is what's going to happen now. Now you're going to see people who have not contributed much joining the club, getting in or coming in, paying their fee, and coming in and launching a coup against the existing board in order to throw out the chairman, throw out the treasurer, and throw out the secretary. And sometimes they might want to keep one of these. These people will want to grab this money. So what they're seeing is bars of gold. There'll be work being done, they're going to be building a new clubhouse, I'll get that job, I have a building company, or my cousin down the road has it, we'll get him in there, he'll get money out of it, and all of this sort of thing. And the meeting will be called, and before the local chairman and committee knows, they'll have passed a vote by secret ballot, carried out in a secret room with nobody seeing it, only they themselves, or they might second somebody like the treasurer or the secretary to do and launch the coup against the democratically elected club, and they do have an oversight committee as well, and they'll manage to oust the existing chairman and all. In some cases there'll be no check to see if they're members of the club, there'll be nothing. But it's something that needs to be watched for. Now that there's 1 million in each county, there's probably, I don't know how many clubs in Meath, Cavan, Monaghan. I'd say in Monaghan, there are probably maybe about 13 clubs, I would think. About 13, maybe about that. So it's still a lot of money. It's still a lot of money. It could be 80,000 in a club like this. It's still a bit of money. And then they have their own funding as well. And there's government grants as well on that, and the leader program contributes to it as well. So the thing to watch is they'll try to oust in some of the cases. The ideal thing would be that the original board, the original people who did the heavy work, will stay in position, and they'll decide how to allocate this money. But that's what will happen in an odd place, but it won't happen in them all. And in some cases there'll be blatant coup with nothing in their eyes of these, only grab the money. And they will try to oust the chairman. Now, the procedure is, where there's an illegality like that and a complete break of the constitution, is the county board can be consulted. And the right thing to do is just do a brief, if it happened, a brief write down of what happened, write down basically what happened and report it to them. But mark my words, in half of the cases the county board are useless. useless. And there'll be politics involved, and sure, I'm a cousin of Mary Jane and all of this crack. And mostly the county board won't work. And you'll hear people down the country saying our county board's good, but over in Clare, like, mother of a dope over there, and he's no good. And it'll depend on who's in there at the time and all of that. So you've got to be aware that the county board will probably not intervene if there's a push out of the existing committee and the overseat committee and all that. You have to be understand. Please understand me. The chances are they'll do absolutely zilch. If they do, that's all right. If you're reporting to them, give them 3 weeks. I'm a big believer in this. I have confronted many's a one and many's a place and many's a law firm and everything else. Give them 3 weeks and I'll bet you nothing will happen. It might in the odd case. If it does, then fair enough. It's up to them to put back the thing and hold a meeting and supervise it and have everyone notified and let everyone in the area know there's a problem and let the whole people come to the meeting and decide what's going to happen. And you may have to bite your tongue if you're on the committee of seeing these rascals taken over, because the cowards in your society will vote for them. Not all people are cowards, but some are. So if the county board doesn't act, the last and final appeal is Croke Park. And they're a funny crowd. Croke Park is supposed to come on, and if there's a complete breakdown of the finances and the whole thing, Croke Park can take over the club. But they don't want to do it because it's too much work for them running a club. So the whole attitude of the county boards and the whole attitude of Croke Park will be steer clear, it'll sort itself out. He'll get over there. Mary Jane was the second chairman. She done great work, but sure, look, she's there 5 years, let someone else have a go. It's for the members to vote on who should be their officers. Okay. Now, you got to be prepared for one simple fact. It's possible Croke Park is useless as well. I would not trust them. There may be some there which will grasp the nettle. But again, it's heavy going and it's not nice work for them. They'd rather be doing something else. So if you're on a local club, please be aware that chances are 50-50 that your county board will do nothing. The chances are that the Croke Park GAA will do nothing. You give the county board 3 weeks, if it's Christmas time, give them 4 or 5 and that's it. And then go on to Croke Park and expect nothing. Expect nothing. And if JP McManus has given this money without putting some kind of conditions on it or some kind of an audit, then he's an idiot. The right thing to do would be appoint me to it, and I'd appoint somebody else. Let nobody get money till I was sure that everything was run. Would I take that job on? Well, I'm a very busy man. It's not that easy doing that, but I could oversee 1 or 2 people doing it, and all you'd have to do is write me a private letter and all that. Now, I have probably feel now that I'll get private letters from Kerry, from Cork, everywhere. This is endemic in the GAA. This is happening all over the place. Their democracy is only a plate named on the door in most of them. Okay. Now, excuse me, I'm just having a cuppa. When you give them the allocated time, you do up a brief writing. Don't put any opinion in it. Just do up a letter to say, this is what happened. I went to the meeting. I was the chairman. I was told there was a vote behind me back. Nobody saw the vote counted, and I was told I was dismissed. You send that back to the person who did it, and you'll get no reply, of course. Only wait a week, maybe 10 days. You'll get nothing. If you do, that's all right. Deal with that as it comes. Then you report it to the county board and see what happens, and be aware that if they have the 3 weeks, then and they don't respond, then expect the worst. The next thing then is you tell the county board this is going to Croke Park. They may come back to you. Sometimes if they're afraid of somebody over them, they will yield. Don't cave in. And the least said the better. Don't start slagging muck. That old bitch over there done this and that and the other, and our father was no good for anything. Don't say that at all. Just say Josephine McCooley done this and that, and leave it like that. Get on to Croke Park, give them the 2 weeks or the 3 weeks, and if nothing happens, then you go to your solicitors, and you have to have the right lawyers for this. You need a junior counsel. Solicitor doesn't matter so much. Usually the junior counsel will know a solicitor, and he'll take over the whole thing, because it's totally illegal. They have no right. The rules are the rules. They have no right to do it. Sometimes these rascals will threaten you violence. They'll threaten to hammer you. And that's then a matter for the guards. And keep a careful note of it. If there's any witness present, keep a careful note. It's all ammunition you have. It's all a bit of muscle you have to whack them with. Okay, then it'll have to go to court. And be aware, if you're an officer of a club, that protecting the club's finances is your responsibility, and seeking legal advice and pursuing legal advice is the right way to do it. Now, how about financing this? Well, it's a good idea to have a slush fund somewhere, or a few pound at the treasurer's beckon to pay for this. And go down to your lawyers and give them a viaticum up front, give them a down payment to act in this case. And have that written into your rules, that you, the secretary, you, the treasurer, you, the chairman, can go to your lawyers or your oversight committee And those lawyers must be paid for by the club. If the lawyers write an opinion that know what happens all right, well then that's a big question. I can't deal with that. You can't deal with all these things. But if they write and say this is irregular, you're going to have to serve them with a notice from the lawyer, a solicitor's letter. Either you restore things and here's what you have to do, or we go on the whole way. They don't have a leg to stand on in most cases. In most cases, this is the Irishman. Now, if I could here, I'd love to stand on my head on this seat. I'd love to stand on my head. It's very difficult here because I've no one to help me. And what I'm trying to tell you is that I know Paddy the Irishman inside out. And I know him that well that even standing on my head, I know him. I know him. And there'll be bars of gold in his eyes when he sees money. Greed, naked greed. And he's a big lump of a fella. My lad was on the team and he was put off and he just that and the other, and I'm not happy about that. And it's not easy running these clubs. There is awful carry on. It is a complete fallacy and a falsehood to say that most GAA clubs are run well and well run and a happy place. You have to fight your way as a parent or whatever thing else. You have to do your thing. They are not. The big teams are. If you have a team like the Meath team or the Longford team, they're generally run all right. But once you go down the way, they are not run all right. That's all a cod. That's all a cod. Now, people will say you're wrong, prove what you're saying, and all of that. There is nothing wrong with somebody in charge of a committee being aware this money is coming and just watch how this will change. And JP McManus needs to get his finger out and put some type of auditing system to that there's a reporting back where anyone can get a letter out and write, dear sir, this is what's happened at our club. And JP got to have some way of dealing with that and keep the money back till it's done properly. Because I don't think, in my humble opinion, that any county board will do it. There might be one or two here and there. Keeping the power to do this for staff there and all, and people who are in the county boards, they have their own lives to live as well, and they have to go to matches, and they have to run their farms or run their businesses or do their job and whatever else, and rear their families and educate their families. It's not easy. These are very dedicated people. And Croke Park, I wouldn't trust them. They got to prove that they're trustworthy. If Croke Park was right, this wouldn't happen. They'd intervene at an early stage and tell the people concerned, what you're doing there is not on. It's not acceptable. It's the same as here in my farm. If some fella had a big load of old polluted, not so much polluted, but infected with TB and bovine tuberculosis animal slurry on his farm up the road, and I look out the window and here he's spreading it on my land. Am I going to say, sure, it's all right? At the very least, there's going to be talks and negotiations and an assessment carried out and all of that. That's the very same. They're grabbing. Paddy the Irishman will grab, but other countries will grab as well. Well, they're all bad enough, but it doesn't matter. By the way, it doesn't matter whether it's Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland. In the case of the island of Ireland, for people who may not know, the Gaelic Athletic Association is an all-Ireland club. It doesn't recognise any boundaries at all. It's just a club, and in fact, it has a branch in London, and I think it has a branch in New York, and maybe one or two other bigger cities. They don't do too well, but they can play, and they are allowed to win the All Ireland final if they could. So just understand that it's quite a good organisation. I mean, I'm not knocking it really. It's hard for them to keep everything right. But where there's 32 million euros pouring in, you've got to watch it. And I don't think it's going to be watched. I think there's going to be a lot of things. Watch out in the paper, and you'll remember my words. You'll see it in the paper. Judge orders stop put to something or this, that and the other. They see this million. Oh, because we get a hold of that. Oh, we'll some crack there. And I have a new company there now, bought a new digger, like you know, and because I have a new lorry as well, and so we'll dig a new hole there. And Paddy can't stop digging holes. He can't stop pouring concrete. He can't stop laying reinforced bar. He builds. If there's such a place as heaven and Paddy's going to it, he'll need a pub in most cases. It's not them all, but he'd also need a digger and an old dumper and heaps of rock and a cement mixer. And if he has that, he'll keep building. He'll not look too much what he's building or think about the shape of it or anything, but he'll keep at it. as long as there's a breath in him, and even in the afterlife, he'll do the same. So this is our recipe for that. It's a pity. I know JP McManus will not put any checks and balances. He's not going to do it. He's a paddy too, don't forget. He's not going to do it. If he does, I'll bloody well eat me hat. I'll eat it. I'll eat it all. Watch out. Lay down the law to them. Give them a time to respond. Give them a little over that if you have to. And get your lawyers on it. And I could be inundated with reports about this stuff. It's going on. It's going on. I'd say there's 3 clubs in every Irish county with some sort of messing going on. I'd say there is. I'm not sure of that, but it's happening, and I'm not in the least bit surprised. Well, Paddy the Irishman, especially the rural Paddy, oh my God. But it has to be said, before I finish the video, some of them are the salt of the earth. Some of them are as decent as anything. And it's a question of knowing the difference, of identifying them. I can spot them the way they look. I know the colour of them. I know the way they walk. In fact, I knew a man one time who used to say you could judge them by their feet. Look at their feet, he says. Watch the feet. We'd be in the pub trying to get squeezed a drink, sitting down. He'd be coming in, or we'd be going to mass, or at the church or something, and you'd see them. He said, look at the feet. He reckoned you could tell a character of a man, particularly, by the feet. I don't know if that's true, but certainly I know you wouldn't be talking to them too long till you know if they're crooks or what they are or what they're up to. There are, it has to be said, a lot of very hard-working people in all of Irish GAA clubs and society. And it's for them I make this video and to take the flak. I believe they should be left alone. I believe if JP McManus's money ends up on pushing out the decent people who've done all the donkey work, just to let in a couple of shysters, a couple of chancellors, and a couple of egots, then he'll have done more harm to the GAA than anything his money could have done. Comment underneath. Very unusual video. That's the reality. Don't tell me about these paddies. I know them. I could sing a song about them. They see a million coming in. And their eyes light up, goes like this. Oh, and they see this dollar sign and the pound and the euro, and they see the yellow gold bars, and they lose. They're like a cow a bulling. They're like a cow in season, in heat. They're not the same animal at all. Give me a thumbs up if you agree. Tell me a thumbs down. Needless to say, there'll be a bit of whacking, cracking underneath. I look forward to it in a great way, and engage with each other and have the crack on this. Bye. Thank you very much on this on this 18th of December. It's a Monday, 2023. Good luck. Bye.